Over a quarter of a century ago, a studio named Gust released a title that would birth an RPG franchise still going strong to this day. That game was Atelier Marie, the Alchemist of Salburg, an adventure designed to take some of the threat and drama usually seen in the genre away and replace it with something much more wholesome. A version of that original game is available as part of the deluxe edition of this game, its remake, Atelier Marie Remake, The Alchemist of Salburg, launched on the 13th of July 2023 for Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5 and PC. This game was released in part to mark the series' quarter century, and served as a real chance for fans of the Atelier series to play the game that began it all. As a quick overview, Atelier games are fantasy-themed RPGs that usually feature a teenage girl who is part witch, part inventor. This role is defined as alchemist, and they use their skills to create items of all kinds, for plot reasons and to aid themselves and their allies in combat. Marie's tale is no different. She's a 19-year-old student at a school who is failing hard. She's branded the worst student in her class and is close to being expelled. As a last-ditch effort to prevent her from flunking, the school gives her a workshop and an overarching task to make something amazing. This is a story from a much simpler era of game design, compared to the more modern Atelier games, which are character-rich, winding narratives, featuring confident young women who surround themselves with allies and often battle with otherworldly entities. Marie's tale by comparison is very much at the level of a schoolyard drama, literally. This doesn't devalue the game from a narrative standpoint, but it does mean that the stakes here are quite low, and the volume of story and character content minimal. This is an RPG that has a really slow pace to it, and were it not for the looming clock in the top left-hand corner of the screen, I'd go as far as to say that this game had no stakes at all. As a point to inform perspective, I had my reservations about playing a game anchored in decades-old mechanics. A lot can change in 26 years, and I didn't know just how much of the gameplay loop I liked would be intact in this title. Yet, the three main tenets of the Atelier series, gathering, crafting, and combat, were still present here. Combat is this functional but basic turn-based system, where you have at most 2 special attacks and then options to use items and take regular swipes at your foe. You can recruit characters who have different abilities and competencies, then level them up as hired guns to protect Marie. They also gain friendship points as you hang out with them, which unlock additional story snippets. Synthesis has perhaps suffered the most from this trip back to 1997. This version has items and equipment without any effects or traits. This leaves the game's primary loop to be based more on the number of any items you have, rather than making any one perfect or superior example. Item and ingredient quality is also absent, ripping multiple layers of complexity and nuance off the modern systems. It may sound ridiculous to complain that this game doesn't have features that one made 25 years later does, but this helps inform the type of remake this is. It's not a complete redesign from the ground up to appeal to a new audience. This is walking that fine line into remaster territory in the same manner that Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl were. This is a game designed to maintain the original essence and simplicity of a time past. High marks for nostalgia, low marks for contemporary appeal. Another obvious omission is that there's no synthesis minigame. You just get the ingredients together and press go. Marie can fail this based on her level, but your synthesis level and combat level are not independent of each other, so a few trips out of town to kill some monsters can make it easier to craft something. Gathering hasn't changed much though, and this does feel quite familiar to the modern installments. The difference comes in the reduction of the variety of the ingredients and ingredient classifications. The animations and art style for the gathering actions here are nice touches, but in general, this feels its age as you'd expect. Perhaps the biggest issue an unsuspecting purchaser may find with Atelier Marie's remake is that the game ends up being very short, even for a title that wasn't priced like a AAA one. My first playthrough ended with barely 6 hours of game time on the clock. My second attempt, where I tried to do everything and admittedly failed, took my total game time to 12.5 hours. I used playthrough 3 to record footage without the battle sped up, and then drew a line under that at around 20 hours of total playtime. The story is told mostly through fragmented events and specific time-related narrative moments, which are spaced out across the 5 years Marie is given to avoid flunking. This tale often relies on short storyboard interactions with static artwork alongside written text. There are some voiced sections, but the volume of dialogue in this game is minimal, even if you compare it to games of the same era. The main story moments are delivered at set intervals across the 5 years Marie is given. To progress, every action from gathering, travelling, and synthesis takes some time off the remaining limit. There is a mode in the game that removes the timer. This is called Unlimited Mode, which allows you to progress as you wish. And that's a nice touch, particularly if you're just here for the cute art style and wholesome, low-stakes escapism. That said, this 5-year time limit is very generous, and I expect that your average player will achieve the bare minimum required to pass within 2 or 3 years. One area I do feel I should give the game some attention for is coal, the game's primary currency. This is without a doubt the first Atelier game I've played where money was actually something you have to manage and utilise with care. You don't just get this handed to you after every fight. You're more dependent on quests and events to provide this to you. This makes it a valuable currency, particularly compared to the Sophie games in the Mysterious arc, where you could knock the difficulty up to very hard and just kill a handful of regular enemies to replenish your balance. This comes in particularly useful when you recruit fairies, which are automated entities that can gather or craft for you at the cost of a fee. Most of these work slower than Marie does, but allow you to be doing other things while still replenishing your stock of items. Fairies can only gather ingredients that Marie herself has already acquired, so you have to put the work in first, but these are useful if you micromanage them to gather what you need while you sleep or level up. Another addition that contributes to this in a positive way are the new minigames. These aren't particularly difficult, but at least break up the gameplay nicely and were a cool novelty on the first playthrough. It speaks volumes that I'd already made up my mind about this game 6 hours in, and it's very clear that the majority of Atelier Marie Remake's purchasers are going to be existing fans of this series. If you judge it by the standards of games in 2023, this is a mechanically uninteresting title that feels more like an attempt to throw back to the 90s, but with lighter writing, underdeveloped characters, and a very restrictive gameplay area. The only elements of this game that would earn a passing mark are the revamped soundtrack and art style. As much of the game seems to be designed for multiple playthroughs, or for you to meticulously plan out your route across these 5 years, that clashes very hard with the simplistic mechanics on show everywhere else, which aren't particularly engaging. I was done after playthrough 2, and while this game is ultimately replayable, there's very little variation between each one of these runs, unless you go out of your way to force variation through your traces. I came into this expecting all of that to a degree, and treated playing this like an academic exercise in experiencing Atelier history. I now know how the series started, and can appreciate how much these titles have changed and evolved over the past quarter century. The struggle comes in trying to find a non-academic way to sell a game based on 25-year-old nostalgia. I've taken what I could from this title, but I can't stretch to recommending this to most people. Perhaps its low stakes and simplistic gameplay loop make it a perfect game for younger children, or maybe it's a nice casual reprieve from other more demanding games. I often end my Atelier reviews making some sort of comment on how I treat these games like wholesome escapism, and while Marie feels like the most wholesome of the Atelier games I've played, it's also the one which presented nothing interesting or challenging mechanically. Outside of this being playable Atelier history, its value to me ended up being minimal at best.